Hi everyone, my name is Monique,
And I'm Naveen from Before You Play.
and we are back.
Back in studio.
Back home in our studio.
Yeah.
For those of you who didn't know, we've been traveling for the past 3 weeks. We went to the Philippines, followed by Japan, and in Japan, we were able to visit the Tokyo Game Market. So today, as promised, we are going to be talking about our experiences there, as well as all of the games that we picked up, both at the market as well as just in Japan in general, because we happened to pick up more along the way for some
we
reason.
picked up quite a few. Now, a lot of these games are just things that we had interest in, but we don't know too much about. We were
Yes.
really looking for clever card games. In Japan, a lot of the games are smaller size, which we appreciate when you're traveling, obviously, internationally. You don't want to bring back big boxes and have to lug them all over the country.
Although we
And
did.
Although we did. We lugged a bunch of
have-
small box games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are going to be talking about all the different ones, just kind of rapid firing through that, but also talking about our experience at the game market.
Yeah, and if you're familiar with any of these games, let us know which ones you're most interested in. Apologies in advance because we're both extremely jet lagged.
Yeah.
This is,
We're running on the energy that we currently have. We're like, let's just film now.
yes,
We might as well.
it has been a very long trip.
Yeah.
And we hope you've been doing well in the meantime. So, first things first, what is the Tokyo Game Market? If you're not familiar with this convention, the Tokyo Game Market is a 2-day event that happens twice a year in Tokyo. And the location sort of moves. The dates are also very elusive. Like, you don't really know when it's going to be held until sort of close to the market.
At least in the past convention. So it's typically held once in the spring and then once also in the
winter.
time, like
Yeah.
fall, winter. And in the years past, it's like sometimes the spring is in March, sometimes it's in May. So it's really hard to know exactly when. I think now with the new location, because I think last year was the first time in this new space. They basically now have a more locked in, more secure kind of venue. And so the new dates are already out for next year.
Yes, and for this winter especially. So if you're interested in going in the winter, you can plan now. It is a 2-day event. It's Saturday and Sunday, but most of the board games are on Saturday, and then Sunday we've heard is more RPG focused. We say we've heard because we've actually never been to the Sunday.
Yeah. So we went back in 2023 and we only did the 1 day that time. And then we
Yes.
did the same thing this year, just 1 day. Because you're in Japan, you want to go and enjoy kind of things outside of board games. And
Right.
so to lock up 2 days at that convention, knowing that one of the days was more RPG focused, we felt like it would be just best to go Saturday.
Right. And unlike other conventions in the US or maybe in Europe, there's not much space for playing. So it is primarily a trade show, meaning there are a ton of booths set up and then you go to purchase games typically. And a majority of them are going to be Japanese designers and publishers. So some games will not come with English rules. A lot of games nowadays are. I feel like there is a trend that's sort
Yeah.
of making it a little bit more globalized.
There was more like, hey, just scan this QR code for the English rules. Back in 2023, not so much. And so I think there's more of an effort to try to have some sort of like English rules. So that way, more people can access these games, obviously.
Yeah, and there are also Western publishers who go.
Yep.
So, we saw All Play there. Some of the Japanese publishers who do come to the US, such as Oink,
yeah.
they're the ones who will have the biggest presence, the most elaborate booths. And even though it might not be the same size as a much larger convention that you'll find in the US or in Europe, it's still pretty sizable. Although you can see all the booths in 1 day.
Yeah, if you've been to like Gen Con or like PAX Unplugged, it's kind of, I would say the hall size is kind of similar to PAX, but maybe a little bit bigger than the PAX like vending area.
Yeah, it's bigger.
It is bigger,
At
yeah.
least this time around.
Yeah.
Because at this venue, which we'll talk about in a second, it was sort of split into 2 rooms and it was just filled with tables.
Yeah.
But like I was mentioning, it's just the vendor hall aspect of a convention. There are no sort of auxiliary events. There's no play spaces really. Although they did make one change this year, which we'll also talk about. And so like we were mentioning, this was our second time going. And so we've learned from our mistakes from the first time we went, and we did a few things differently this year. The first being we actually went as media. So we were able to apply ahead of time to be able to get in early and to be able to take pictures and videos, because what we didn't know is you technically have to be media, or you have to have some sort of a media pass to take photos and videos.
Yeah, it's kind of frowned upon to just film openly if you're just a regular attendee.
Yes. Last time we did ask for permission.
We did,
So
yeah.
at least that's a thing. Like as long as you ask for permission, I think it's a little bit better. But technically, you should apply for as media.
Yeah, so every time like you go up to a booth, it's always like polite to ask, like, may I take a picture of this?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you want to do further research later on in the day. Maybe cycle back around. And so most people are pretty friendly, pretty open to that, but it's just something to be aware of when you do go or if you do end up going in the future.
And the thing that was nice about going as media this year is you actually get to go in early. So you don't get to buy games in advance, but we got to go in while they were still setting up and sort of be able to scout where all of the booths were and take some preliminary footage before people came, because there are a lot of people who attend.
It's a big waiting.
This is a large board gaming convention for the people across Japan. Like this is a pretty big event for them.
Yeah, doors open technically. So there's two different, if you're just going as a regular attendee, there are two different like tiers of tickets. You can get the 1 hour early ticket, which is an 11 o'clock entrance, or you can get like the GA, the general, which is a 12 o'clock entrance. The lines are very big. So in 2023, we got just the GA and we were standing outside when it was like kind of raining a little bit, everybody with umbrellas. And we were outside probably for a 12 o'clock entrance. We got there at like, 11, I think, to line up.
We didn't know what we were doing.
We didn't know what we were doing.
Don't do that.
We got there at 11, but we didn't actually get in until I would say about 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
so it was about a 2 hour wait,
Yeah.
So it's quite a bit, yeah.
Be cautious of that. If you want to go in early, then just make sure you buy the ticket for that time. It's not like a huge price difference. It's relatively affordable to go to
Especially
this
for
event.
the US dollar to yen.
Yeah, from what I remember. And another thing that we did differently this year is we actually did some research and we reserved games. So last time we went, we pretty much just showed up. And we walked around, looked around, and we sort of relied on other people's suggestions. But this time we reserved games, which is actually quite important because a lot of these publishers are small publishers. Some of them are just designers who brought their games.
Some of them will only be there for just Saturday only. Sometimes they don't have the booth for both days. So they may have only a handful of games. I know one publisher only brought maybe like 50 copies. And so if you did not, it was reserve only for those. So if you did not reserve one of those 50, then you're pretty much out of luck on that.
Yeah, reservations, though, are a little bit elusive as well because they sort of pop up at different times. There's not just like one hub for reserving all of the games at a certain time.
Yeah.
It's all publisher dependent,
Yeah.
and a lot of them use like Google Forms
They do.
and Twitter.
Yeah, and so unlike most other conventions, if you've been on BGG, you see that there's like the Essen preview list or like the Gen Con preview list. The Tokyo Game Market this time around did have a BGG preview list, but there was only a handful of games, maybe like 80 or something like that on that list.
Yeah.
The real website that you want to use when doing research is the actual game market website.
Yes.
And that's kind of where we found most of these games.
It is really hard to do, though. Obviously, it's going to be all in Japanese. You have to use a translation software browser to be able to translate these games, but there are thousands of entries, so it can be very daunting. It was actually very nice that they made that preview list on BGG. They didn't have to do that, but was it Eric R. Martin who did it?
Probably.
Yeah, they went out of their way to just choose. I imagine it's games people will probably be familiar with either through the publishers or previous designers, and they just made a nice list.
It was a good way to go. Like, let's start there,
Yeah.
and then from there go over to the BG or the game
The
market
actual
website.
game market. And aside from BGG, I also reference Jay's channel, Cardboard East, who I highly recommend if you are interested in games from Asia, because that is what he specializes in, and he always makes content leading up to the Tokyo Game Market. So I watched those videos and I sort of got some recommendations there.
Yeah, that's a really good reference and resource. So if you are interested in his channel, we'll leave a link in the description as well.
And other than that, I just went based off of games that we've played in the past. So a lot of games have been coming out lately from Western publishers that are designed by Japanese designers. And so I just sort of, what games have they designed that are coming out at the Tokyo Game Market and sort of look them up from
any
there.
name recognition
Yeah.
for new games, then that's kind of an easier route for us to go and do our research.
So if you're ever planning on attending, we highly recommend doing some research and then making reservations. Other than that, we went booth to booth, typical convention behavior.
Yep.
And we were very fortunate because other content creators were there as well. Amy and Maggie from Thinker Themer, as well as Ilya and Tyler from Kavre. So we sort of went as a group, which was good and bad because we were able to give each other recommendations, but it also kept us from leaving. Like we meant to leave the hall to go play games, and we ended up leaving like 2 hours later because we were just egging each other on, like buying more games.
There was a little, well, because you don't know if any of these games are ever going to come to the U.S.
Yes.
or when they do come, they're going to be reskinned and kind of themed, and,
Right.
and they're not going to be in the form that you kind of have right there and there. And so it's like, oh, you got that game? All right, maybe I should go pick that game up.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Be warned that this is unlike other conventions, this is a true FOMO convention because you really do feel like, oh my gosh, if I don't buy that game now, am I never going to be able to play it ever again? Because it is
probably.
quite possible.
Yeah.
These are very small print games sometimes that you may never even find in Japanese board gaming stores, which is something that we had encountered as well,
Yeah, totally.
walking around Japan. But in general, it was really fun for anybody who's curious. They also had some food there. They had food trucks this time, which I think was a bit different from the last time we went because it was at a different
Venue,
different venue entirely. And typically, they also have a special guest who gives a
yeah.
talk. Last time we went, it was Simone Luciani giving a talk in Italian being translated into Japanese.
Yeah, we got real
So-
excited. Oh, Simone Luciani's going to be here giving a talk. We sit down, cross-legged,
Yeah.
in the middle of like a huge crowd in Japan, and he starts in Italian, and we're like, uh-oh,
Well, of course.
we made a mistake.
What were we thinking? Of course it's going to be in Italian.
And then we're like, is it rude to just within the first 2 minutes to get up and leave? All right, let's just sit here and
Just-
pretend for the next 10 minutes.
Well, actually, Maggie was able to do some translating. Like, there's some like really wonderful apps out there for live translating.
It wasn't
But anywho, this year we didn't know this, but it was actually Vital Lacerda. Vital Lacerda.
Yeah.
Came and gave a talk.
And we found out randomly because surprisingly, when we were walking through the halls, some people had recognized us.
yeah, we were
and-
able to meet a lot of people. That
And
was
somebody
nice.
said, hey, did you know Vital's doing a talk in a couple hours? And we're like, no, I don't know any of this. So, so we went, and fortunately we were told about that ahead of time. So we were able to plan around it. And he gave like about a 1 hour talk on a stage over there. And he did it in English, which
Yes.
was very nice.
We were like,
English
okay,
was translated to Japanese.
What are the
yeah.
chances that he's going to give his speech in Portuguese?
Yeah.
But we knew that he spoke English very fluently,
Mm-hmm.
so we figured like maybe there's a chance because the likelihood of an English crowd versus just mainly Portuguese is probably higher on the English side. So yeah, fortunately for us, he gave his speech in English, which was then translated into Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
And you make sure that the game at the end is worth it to play. Not for the other players, but for yourself, because you have to love what you're doing for making a complex game.
But it was actually very good talk. He talked about his design process and he took questions from the crowd. So I was really glad that we were able to attend. But that's essentially it. Like we were mentioning, we were only there for one day. And so it was both pretty long, but also very quick because we ended up leaving before the game market closed.
Yep.
And so we didn't actually get to participate in something new that they were doing this year, which was after the venue closed, you could pay a fee in order to stay and free play. So like I was mentioning, you don't typically do demos at the convention itself, but this time around you can actually stay and play, the games you purchased at the hall.
Yeah, we were told, we don't know the exact details of it, but there's a nominal fee, and then the hall typically closes at 6, and from what we understand, it stays open for maybe 4 extra hours, something like that, where you can just open play with the games that you've purchased.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a library or anything like that. But another tip about the game market, in May, it is pretty hot in that room.
Oh yeah.
It is warm
It
in
was
there.
so hot. There are a lot
Yeah.
of bodies.
There's a lot of bodies, yeah.
Not much air for some reason.
In Japan, everybody respects personal space, but
Yeah.
there was just something about the airflow in there. So if you think it's going to be cold outside and then you're going to come in with your jacket, just have a plan for where you're going to put that jacket because you're going
And
to want to take it
also
off.
bring an umbrella. So
Yeah.
plan for the heat, bring an umbrella because the weather is so erratic.
And we
It
went
rained
from
that day.
It did rain that day. We went from being in the Philippines for many, many days,
Mm-hmm.
in 95-degree heat with like maximum humidity, thinking that going to Japan in a day we'll have a nice reprieve
Right.
at the game market, and it was warm in there.
was
So
pretty warm.
just be aware of that if you do end up going in the future.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the games that we picked up. Now, please don't judge us. We picked up a lot of games. We picked up like 20-something-ish.
At the game market, I think we counted it was 25 games.
Yes, it was panic mode. You know, we don't
They're
know.
small box games though.
Small box games,
Tiny.
but we also don't know when, if ever, we'll be back to
Yeah.
the Tokyo Game Market. So it was a lot of like, well, let's just bring these home. A lot of them are trick-taking games,
Yep.
which we really love. And another hot tip, which is something we mentioned before, is make sure that the Tokyo Game Market is at the end of your trip.
Yeah.
Because as you'll see, we brought a lot of games home, and we had to bring all of these games with us all around Japan. So that was not ideal.
It just worked out with the circumstances. Also, the reason why we got so many games was because in years past, like 2 years ago, some games that we now research later, you go to board game shops and the ones from 2023, they're like, sorry, it's just out of stock. We don't have it. So it's like, get it now or not. So that's why Monique was kind of alluding to. There's definitely a FOMO aspect
Yes.
to the Tokyo Game Market, at least as of right now.
Big time.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
let's go ahead and start with these two games because they are by the same designer. Now, a lot of these games are going to be unopened, such as this one, and a lot of them, most of them, are going to be unplayed. So we can't really tell you too much about them. But like I said, if you have any interest in any of them, let us know which ones, and we can try to put them
Try to prioritize
in like
it.
a Let's Talk Board Games or
Yeah, we'd
something.
like that. Yeah.
So this is Extreme Mission. Look at these animals
I'll hold this.
on a mission. And this is
Cartoonish looking
Merchant of Goldfish. Now, this is the Japanese title up here, but it has the English title down here. And both of these games are designed by Hisashi Hayashi
right? Yeah.
of Yokohama fame.
Yep.
He's actually designed quite a few games. All of the Rolling series.
Like Rolling for America,
Rolling in
for
America,
Japan.
rolling
Yeah.
in Japan or for Japan, something like that. Metro X, I think you said?
Metro X, yeah.
Oh, and most recently, Bomb Busters,
Oh, yeah.
which is a game that a lot of people have really enjoyed in the past year. So we don't know too much about these games, except for this is a game where you're sending these animals on missions. It just has really cute artwork.
Yeah.
So I was intrigued by that.
Yeah, I know nothing.
I think it might be a co-op game. It could also not be a co-op game.
Co-op
We'll
card
see.
game with dogs, it looks like.
And this is definitely a shedding game.
Okay.
That features goldfish.
What's it called?
So,
Merchant of Goldfish?
Merchant of Goldfish.
Single merchant.
Single Merchant.
Okay.
By Okazu brand.
This one plays
I
about
guess
2 to
is the-
6, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
A lot of the games you're going to see are in that like 2 to 5 player, 2 to 6 player, 20 to 30 minute games. Because that's a lot of what we look for when we go to Japan.
Yeah. And I read through the rules of this. It seems pretty simple. But there you go. These are the first two.
First two.
All right, next up we have a tableau building game called The Wondrous Museum. So clearly we haven't played it yet. It's designed by the same designer as both Vegetable Stock
Yep.
as well as the Taiwan Night Market.
Yep.
And published by Broadway Toys Limited. But like we mentioned, we haven't played this one. It just, we picked it up because it came highly recommended by a few people who are familiar with the games that this publisher publishes, as
Yeah.
well as the designer. But this game plays 1 to 5 players in about 30 minutes, and it just sounds interesting. It's a tableau building engine builder.
Yeah.
So we like those two mechanisms together.
Players each manage a museum. Gaining the most admiration means the player is a successful museum curator.
There you go.
That's what you're trying to do. You're curating a museum by probably collecting cards.
Doesn't
of
that
some
sound
sort.
amazing?
It's still in shrink, so we'll find out.
We're definitely going to play this one
Yeah.
soon because it plays pretty quickly.
Yep.
So there's that. Then we have a game called Dying Message. So
Okay.
the funny thing about this game is I'm not quite sure if it's even the right one that I was interested in.
Yep.
Because there were so many games at the game market called Dying Message.
This is, I think, one of 3 games called Dying Message.
Yeah,
at
we
the
just
game
kept on
market.
seeing it, and we were like, is that
Which
the same?
one?
Which
Yeah.
one is it? So the reason why I was interested in this is because Jay from Cardboard East recommended it, saying it was a really good, I think, social deduction mystery
I mean,
game.
it could be this one. It says 4 to 15 players.
It does.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Hopefully
but
we got the
we're
right
gonna
one.
find out.
Yeah.
Because the other Dying Message games didn't have English rules, which is why we ruled them out. We just went with this one.
Yeah.
So if you've played this, let us know if it's the one that I'm describing.
I'm hoping it's not
you-
language independent.
It has translation, like a translation glossary, so
Perfect.
we will have to sort of refer to that. But it does seem like you are trying to solve a crime, of some
Probably a
sort.
murder, most likely.
You
A
can play up
dying
to
message.
15 players, and it plays 15 minutes. Isn't that intriguing? So
1 minute per player.
there you go.
There you go.
Anyway,
We know
it is
nothing.
Dying
There you go.
message. Next, of course, we picked up a bunch of trick-taking games. So we're just going to do them all at once because this was actually my main interest in going to the Tokyo
We like
Game
trick-taking
Market.
games.
Love
yeah.
trick-taking games.
Japan does a lot of good ones.
They're all very interesting sounding. So here's our little stack.
Little
Or
stack.
actually, let's start
more.
with these two.
Okay.
We picked up both Phantom of the Opera, which was, I don't think this was new this year, as well as Odyssey, which is new. And
yeah.
they are both from the same designer. Gionil, I'm not quite sure how
pronounce it.
we should have asked, but he was there. He's designed games such as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which was a two-player
Dr.
trick-taking game.
Jekyll versus Hyde. I
Jekyll
think,
versus
that's what it's
Hyde,
called,
yeah. That's a two-player only
Yep.
trick-taking game that we both really enjoyed. And he also designed The Yellow House, which is a game that got some mixed reviews, but we both
We
really
both
liked
like that
it.
one, yeah.
So
That's
other
a
than,
two-player only trick-taking game.
is it trick-taking technically?
I think so.
It's on BGA,
kind of.
and we played it a few times on BGA
Yeah.
first.
It's like
and
hand management.
It's like hand management. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's really
I like that
really
one,
done well.
That's the Yellow House, by
That's
the
the
way.
Yellow House. And so after sort of playing a couple of those games, I've been very
We gravitate
intrigued
towards his designs.
by the other designs that he's made.
So
So,
this is Phantom of the Opera.
I think this one came out last year, but this
Something
is
about
definitely
music.
the new one.
Yep.
And I was very, very interested. This is probably my number one most interested
This is
game.
one of the ones that you pre-ordered.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the one that I had to have because it is themed after the Odyssey.
Yeah.
The art is beautiful, and the
to get it in
components
there.
are also really, really nice.
Yeah.
So I'm very intrigued.
All right. The box says 3 to 4 players, so we're gonna need to find somebody.
Okay. We have friends.
Time is 20 minutes, and complexity is easy.
Oh,
So there you go.
there you go.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
So that's Odyssey.
Yeah, so we were both really excited about actually meeting him, and we have actually a funny story about this. So Gionil, we're gonna call him Gionil, was sitting at his table, and we were like, "Do you know if the designer of these games are here at the
He
market?"
looked familiar to me.
Yeah, he looked very familiar. Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. But we asked him, like, do you know if the designer is here? And he said, "Oh, it's me. It's me." And I've met you guys before. And
He,
we
sa-
had to
he
think-
said that he met us before. And I'm
yeah.
Like, oh.
And we thought back, and we remembered 2 years ago when we went to Japan for the Tokyo Game Market the first time. We actually met him at a Yellow Submarine, which is a board gaming a board game chain.
Yeah, it's the biggest board game. I would think it's the biggest board game chain throughout
Yeah.
Japan.
Yeah, we met him in Kyoto, and he said he knows our channel, and
Yeah.
we actually took a picture with him, and we had no idea that's Gino.
Yeah, he didn't introduce himself as I publish games.
Yeah, or I design
It's just
games.
like, hey, I know your channel, and so yeah, it was pretty surreal
was-
to be like, oh, we've met you before.
So it was
Yeah.
really cool. This time around, I was pretty much fanning out,
Fangirling.
fangirling
Yeah.
out about that.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely be playing these games, and we really enjoyed meeting him the
will-
second time around. I
We
guess
will definitely report back on both these two games.
yes,
for sure.
So those are trick-taking games.
Trick-taking games. Yeah.
These are all individual trick-taking games that we picked up. This is one that is not new.
Somebody recommended this.
This is Dokito Ice. So it's an ice cream themed.
I think Amy and Maggie
game.
recommended this one.
Yes, this is on one of their. I think it was like on their most thematic trick-taking games.
Ah,
Because
that's what it was.
trick-taking games are not typically thematic.
Nope.
But in this one, you're trying to build your ice
cone?
cream cone with the different flavors.
I think it's like you want to build it up to 3 different like flavors, but as soon as you go scoops, but as soon as you have too much ice cream, then you kind of bust. So I think it's like one of those like where you only want to win up to 3 tricks, and so it's like about how do you manage winning only so much.
Interesting.
There's games that's like you want to collect tricks. There's games where you want to avoid tricks, and I think this is kind of a hybrid of those.
You want to balance it.
Balance it, yeah.
So anyway, the theme is really cute.
Yeah.
I was really excited to see it there
Let's show
because
this
we
art.
weren't sure if it would be there at all since it's not a new game.
Nope.
So that's
There you
that.
go.
We also we picked up a tiny trick-taking game called Anaphylaxis. I forgot what the spin with this one is, but it's so
3 to
tiny.
4 player, yeah.
I remember reading the description and thinking, it was very affordable. It was really tiny and it's really small. So let's just get it.
Tiny and small.
Yeah, tiny and small. 3 to 4 players.
And it says English rules. Link is available on the QR code.
Yeah.
How thoughtful.
How thoughtful. So
Yeah,
that's really nice.
This is one that when we were doing our final count, I didn't realize I tucked it like in the side sleeve.
It's so tiny and small.
So we had 24 games. This made it 25. So
There you go.
There you go. Anaphylaxis.
Slightly bigger than that is a game called Cosmos. I know this was highly sought out at the market. It was one of the more popular trick-taking games. Other than that, I don't quite know how it plays. It has these beautiful cards that have like different planets and the sun.
This one's 3 to 6 players.
And it's 3 to 6 players. So that's interesting. 30 minutes, trick-taking game.
Love it.
Next, we have another, I believe this is a trick-taking game
Sunset?
called Sunset. And the reason why we picked this up is because it's by the same people who published your favorite trick-taking game.
Yokai Septet?
Sorry, your second favorite. Your second favorite. I forgot about Yokai Septet.
Yokai Septet is my favorite. Yokai Septet, we're going to get the comment. I couldn't understand what it was. Septet is spelled S-E-P-T-E-T.
Yes.
That is my favorite.
Septet.
2 separate words, Yokai Septet. So if you're looking for that game, that is my favorite trick-taking game of all time.
And your second favorite?
Second favorite is a game called Schadenfreude.
Yes, and that is a Japanese trick-taking game where you are trying to score closest to 40 points without going over. And as soon as somebody goes over 40 points, that ends the game, and whoever is in second place. So it's a bit of a balancing act.
Yep.
But there's the actual gameplay. There's some tricky stuff to it too,
Yes.
which makes the game really, really
The
good.
way you score points is kind of interesting in that one.
And they actually had a bunch of copies of that game at the Tokyo Game Market because they know it's highly sought after here, and it's hard to get.
We should have done the Good Samaritan thing and brought back like 6 copies.
I debated it, but then that would be 6 copies less for them to give people there.
And to lug around.
That's true. So this is another trick-taking game by the same people who published that one.
Yeah.
That's all we know.
That's all we know. 3 to 5 players.
15 to 20 minutes.
Like most trick-taking games, 3 plus. So 15, 20, love it.
It's pretty.
It is very nice, yes. Let's hold it up.
Sunset. All right.
What do you got?
Next, we have a game called Trickerous. So I'm really excited to play this game. We met
Yeah.
the designer, very, very lovely, lovely human, and we were highly recommended this game from a lot of people.
I think Jay also recommended
Yeah,
this one.
Jay also recommended it. And the thing that's really sweet is the designer, he said that I think he worked on this game with one of his kids.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was a really sweet story, and I love that it was a family effort to be able to bring this game to life.
By the way, all the games that we've spoken about so far, we purchased with our own money. This particular one was provided to us by the publisher.
Yes, as a review copy. Now it's trickerous, unlike what Naveen thought, or you remember? I think you said
Icarus?
trickerous.
Trickeris.
I believe it's a play off of Icarus.
Yeah, I
flying
see
too
with
close to the sun.
Yeah, I see it now with the art.
Yes. Other than that, we haven't played it yet, but we are definitely going to be playing this one and talking about it on the channel.
Yeah, so
So-
we'll be doing this one soon. Now this one plays 2 to 5 players, so we will definitely play it at the minimum 2-player count, and then also at higher player counts, and kind of report back on the scaling.
Yeah. And the last game, which we also don't know too much about, is called Lunar Trick. So just look at it. It's pretty. It's a trick-taking game.
I'm a sucker for square boxes for some reason.
Yeah, nice square box, beautiful art, trick-taking game, and it is for 3 to 4 players, plays in 20 minutes. So we'll probably get this one played as well.
Yeah, lunar trick. Look at that. It's the moon in trees
And tricks.
and tricks. Who knows?
All right, those are all of the trick-taking games that we got at the market itself. Aside from those, we were also able to meet with a publisher who is based in Japan, I believe, called Itten. You're probably very familiar with them because they released Tokyo Highway, which is a really popular, I think it's a dexterity game.
I haven't played it.
We've never actually played any of their games before, so we were fortunate to have been given a few review copies.
These are review copies, yeah. These
Some of their titles. We did not bring home Tokyo Highway, though, because that is a large,
Box.
heavy box.
We
with a
wanted
lot.
to, but they offered it, and we were like, we just gotta lug it around.
Yeah,
Sorry, unfortunately.
so it would have been too tough. But
Yeah.
we were able to bring home a lot of their Fun Brick series line, which I thought was really cute. They have a line of games that all have this shape
Shape
this
and
like
box.
columnal shape.
Rectangular.
And they all feature different mechanisms. Like this one is gold hunting.
This
They have
one-
really cute
This
components.
one is called Viking Seesaw, and you're basically trying to balance goods on each side. Other than that, I don't know too much.
One of them, is that the one that's by, yeah, this is the one that's designed by Reiner Knizia.
Oh, there you go.
So this is
Very
actually a Reiner Knizia game. Yeah, like Naveen was mentioning, it has cute components because you're trying to balance some stuff. We might do some reels with
yeah,
these games
maybe, yeah.
because they look really cute.
We'll figure it out.
And then the rest of them are designed by, I believe, Japanese designers.
This one is called a Gravity 3 game, and it's because with the components in here, there are 3 different games that you can play. So there's memory gravity, there's comparison gravity, and doubt gravity. Those are the 3 games that are listed on here. Again, we didn't really get a demo as to how any of these particular 5 games play, but we'll slowly play them over time.
We would describe them.
Yeah.
But they're very cute. The art on all of these games are beautiful, and the artist was there. We actually wanted to tell him that we love his artwork, but he was very busy, so we didn't want to bother him.
Yeah, it seems like it's the whole thing is kind of like an in-house operation. Like there's the publisher is the owner, and then also the artist is always the same art.
Yes,
for all their games.
Yes, for all their games.
Yeah,
so in addition to those, we brought home these 2 games. One is called Four Corner Detective.
One of the games that we've actually played.
Yes, we actually played this game. It's very silly, but it's actually quite fun. And basically the way that this game works is there's a deck of cards, and they have 4 corners to the cards, right? But each corner is a different angular degree.
It's rounded in a different manner.
Yes.
Like, so there could be like a sharp angle, or it could be like really like smooth and kind of rounded. Literally the corners of the cards that we're talking about.
And depending on how rounded the corner is, you're going to have to try to guess what number value. I think the lower the value, so I believe the numbers are 3, 4, 5, and 8, with 8 being the most rounded.
Yep.
And 3 being the sharpest. So you, at the same time, everybody simultaneously has to feel their own card sort of under the table, and you need to try to guess the order of those numbers. And
it's a real-time element to it. There's a race element. So basically you have a deck of cards. You take the cards, you put them underneath the table, and then simultaneously, everybody at the same time is going to feel and try to sequence each corner in their 4 corners of their individual card. And you're going to take like a token from the center, and then after everybody has taken tokens, then you're going to write down on paper, like, this is what I believe my sequence is. So if you have a bunch of rounded, like super rounded edges, maybe it's a big round on 8, 8, a really sharp one is a 3, and then now the last one you're like, I can't tell, maybe it's like a 4. Then you're gonna reveal it. You're gonna reveal the actual card, and if you're correct, then you get a certain amount of points.
Yeah, depending on how many of those numbers you got correct. There's actually a little bit more to the scoring than that, but it's interesting because the really sharp angles are 3, 4, and 5. So that's very little. There's very little in terms of the difference between those 3 values.
You have to really like hone in on your tactile sense on your fingertips. The 8s are the most probably prominent.
Yeah, those
easiest,
ones are the
because
easiest.
the most rounded, but it's tough.
It's hard.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to really see the difference between a 3 and a 4. Yeah,
it's hard. It's very silly, but that is Four Corner Detective. And then their big release for the market is a game called Hits and Outs. So I believe this is 2-player only.
2-player only baseball themed game.
Yes.
You're playing 3 innings, where one, just like in baseball, one player is going to be the pitcher and then the batter, and then you're going to switch. I actually saw this being played while we were waiting to speak with the publisher, and basically it's kind of it's a mind game.
It's a mind game where one person is trying to hide where the ball is.
Yeah, so the player that's the batter is going to basically close their eyes. The person that's going to be the pitcher is going to assign the ball to either first, second, third base, or home run. And after they've assigned it and kind of like move things around, then the player that's the batter is going to open their eyes and basically determine what kind of a hit they're going to make. So if they say, okay, I'm going to hit a double, and the ball is revealed when they flip over and it was at second base, then they actually hit a double, and then they put runners on the bases, and you're going to kind of move things around. So you have a 1 in 4 chance of actually striking and hitting the ball. If you guess wrong, then that's one of your 3 outs for that inning.
So it's a big mind game.
It's just a
where
mind
you kind of
game,
go back and forth, and then you switch places.
Yep.
But that is Hits and Outs. We'll be playing this one soon as well.
Yep.
All right, moving on. We are actually almost done with the games that we picked up at the market. We all know Oink games. This is a very dangerous booth to be at because you could probably spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we were chill.
We were chilling. We were like, we're going to be very, very strategic.
Very selective. We were
Selective,
very
yeah.
selective with the games that we picked up this year, so we only picked up 2 of them.
The thing about
They had-
Oink is also they do come to the U.S.
They do.
So,
It's true.
So we didn't have to we got to get these games. here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although it would be cheaper, I guess, for us to get them there just because of the
Yeah.
price difference.
Yep.
But the booth was really beautiful. They had one of those bigger booths. You had to get in line in order to actually go in and go shopping.
It was going smoothly.
But once you're in, then you can kind of shop around all of their titles.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that was cool is they had some rethemings of some of their previous designs.
Right.
So this is an example of one. This is the only one that we picked up that's a retheme, actually.
This is only licensed in Japan.
Yes.
So you
and-
can't get this in the U.S.
You can't get this in the US.
Yeah.
It's called Disney Villains, and it is a retheming of, I believe, their game called Mask Men.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a long time since we played that game. I remember
I
really
played
enjoying it. I don't know if you've played it.
I don't think I played that one.
It's an interesting game, but they rethemed it as Disney Villains. So I thought that was a
Had
really
to have it.
interesting take, and I had to have it.
Who are our villains?
So-
We have, let's see if I can, Ursula. We have, what's that? Who's she? That's the step witch? Stepmom? Stepmom
You're
witch?
the worst.
What's her name?
I don't know her name. It's just
Snow
an evil.
Snow White's
witch.
baddie.
Yeah,
No, that's not Snow White. Who's that?
Aurora.
Aurora. Hades. We have Scar, Cruella. Everybody knows Cruella. And she, with the horns, is Maleficent.
Maleficent.
That's
Yes,
Maleficent,
yes, yes,
so there
yes,
you
You're
go.
right. You're right.
Yeah,
I don't think
who is
Aurora
the-
was right.
What is the name of the bad person from Snow White?
The evil queen.
Queen.
The evil queen.
Not a witch.
Sorry. Our Disney lore is not deserving of this game.
No.
But anywho, that's the first one. And the other one, which is a new release for them, is a game called Petticoat. And I bought this purely based off of this dog.
Yeah, look at this dog.
This dog with a top hat.
And he's very dapper.
He's so dapper. I
There's
couldn't
also
stand
a
it.
duck who's very dapper,
Yeah.
and I believe a cat.
And a cat.
who is
I mean,
extremely dapper.
At this point, I really didn't care how the game played.
They
It's
also
just
had
so
merch. I
cute.
really regret not getting the T-shirt.
Yeah, they had a T-shirt of this lovely fellow in the top hat.
Dog. Yeah.
So we were actually able to play this.
We did, yeah.
And I was pleasantly surprised that I actually really enjoyed it.
You want to play this at the higher player counts because there's more minds playing the game.
Mm-hmm. It's a very silly game about trying to mind meld with the rest of the group what the pattern is of these animals and hats that are placed in front of you.
So there are 3 different types of animals. You have your dog, your duck, and your cat.
Yes.
And there's 3 different types of hats, I believe.
Yeah, 3 different colors.
3 colors, yeah. So there's the top hat. You have kind of like the
A yellow,
yellow driver's hat, and then another just hat that kind
a
of goes
beret,
a beret,
a red one, yeah.
And then there's also numbers.
Yeah, it's 1, 2, or 3.
1, 2, or 3. So at the round is played where 6 cards are going to be laid out, and of the 6 cards, there's going to be a question mark card in the pattern that you see out there. And so you're trying to mind meld with everybody around the table to be like, what card combination would suit that question mark based off of the other 5 cards that are actually face up.
Yes, so there is no rhyme or reason
No.
for the other cards that are placed around the table.
just
Those are
shuffled up.
randomly placed. But you are trying to think of what is a pattern? What kind of pattern would you be following to place a certain combination in that question mark spot?
So the layout might be 1, 2, 3, question mark, 2, 1. So then you'd be like, well, maybe a 3
Maybe
would
a
fit
3,
there.
or
1,
maybe
2,
another
3, 2,
1.
1. Yeah.
But it's 3 different parameters that you are trying to solve for. It's the color of the hat, the animal, as well as the number. And you basically will only score points if you match exactly with at least one other person around
yeah.
the table. So it's one of those games.
Yeah, so you could be like, it's every other color. Come on, guys. It's like,
Yeah.
no, it's 2, 2, 2. And so
This group was so stressful.
Yeah.
We played it with Thinker Thiever and
Yeah.
Copre, and everybody was like, no, there's only one right answer.
Amy
this
and
is the
I
right
were
answer.
on it for every single round, I think.
I think they won.
No, Amy won because I blew it at the end. I lost at the very, very end. But
Anywho,
clever
that
little
is
game. It's silly.
Petticoat.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed it. I'm glad we picked that one up.
Yep.
In addition to Oink Games, another really popular Japanese publisher, probably our favorite,
We talk about
is
this one a lot.
Sashi and Sashi
Yep.
of Sashi and Sashi fame.
Newest
So Naveen has
Me.
been acquiring Sashi and Sashi
I think
games.
we have all but one, which is Let's Make a Bus Route.
the original.
The original one.
Yes,
we
we
have
don't have
like
that.
Go On Board, I think, right? Or is that what it's called?
We have the Western
the Western.
implementations
Yeah,
that
exactly. So we
ILO
technically have
brought
them all.
over.
Yeah.
But this is the newest one that was released called
The Great Evening Banquet.
Yeah.
This one plays, how many people? This is like one of the bigger games that we picked up, as you can see.
Yeah.
1 to 4 players, 30 minutes. That's why I like their game. I love the art. The art is actually done by his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sashi and Sashi,
Yeah.
they're husband and wife. The husband designs the games and the wife does all the
Yeah,
illustrations.
I really enjoy her art style.
You see like recurrent characters and
You
stuff,
do,
which
yeah.
is really cool. This is super cute. Like
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on, but these are people who are all attending a banquet, I'm assuming. It's fancy banquet. You actually could not reserve this. So this was one of the our first
This is the first purchase of the day.
first priority.
Yeah.
One of the first priorities that we went to.
Yeah, I don't want to have to find it later on in life. So I wanted it. We got it.
If we have
We'll
time
let you know about it.
at some point, I would love to do like a Sashi and Sashi series. Like, I know we're coming to a close on being able to do these, but
Yeah.
that is one that I would love to do.
This would be a nice one to do, a Sashi and Sashi series. The only thing is there's some games that are like 3 to 5 player.
Yeah,
So
we would have to do it on our own
we
terms.
have to figure it out,
Either skip them
Yeah.
or play with somebody, but
Yeah.
we'll see if we can squeeze this one in at some point. Yep. And finally, the last game that we picked up from the game market itself was by far the largest and the heaviest one.
physically heavy.
And I was really surprised that
Lugging
it was
it
this
around.
big. It is called Eternal Decks. So some of you may already know this game because out of all of the games
Pretty weighty.
that we
That's
picked
some
up,
heavy.
this was the one that people raved about the most. Like if there was one game, people would say if there's one game that you get, it's this.
Yeah, this one was like a hot one for them. Yeah.
Super hot.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a small box because it's a card game. It's actually a cooperative card game. And I know the word cooperative scares a lot of people off.
Yeah.
But we really enjoy cooperative games. And
Art looks
the
great.
artwork is stunning.
Really, really nice.
So I thought it was a small box game
Yeah.
because it's cooperative cards. But no, it's huge.
1 to 4 players, 30 to 40 minutes, 10 and up is the age range.
Yeah, it's
so
like highly rated on BGG. Everybody who's played it says it's amazing.
same
It's,
company that did Trick Takers,
yes,
King's Trick Takers.
King's Trick
yeah.
Takers.
Popular game. Yeah.
So it has a really interesting system, and that is what I am very curious about exploring.
yeah.
So
we'll
this
be
is-
playing this one soon.
We'll be playing it for
Yeah,
sure. That is Eternal Decks.
So those are all the games that we got at the actual Tokyo Game Market on Saturday. So I was lugging around a lot of games.
Yeah.
But we also continued to shop around when
Yeah.
we were in Japan.
We're not done.
Yeah, we went to
because
Yellow Submarine, a couple board game cafes where they sell games also. And so we found a couple smaller games as well.
we were bit by the board game bug.
Yeah.
Like that sort of set the tone for the rest of our trip, and I actually went to Japan with a list of games that I was looking for that were previously released at the Tokyo Game Market, and I found literally one. They're very
find.
hard to find
Yeah.
after the fact, which is where that FOMO comes into play.
Yeah.
So we picked up, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 7 games?
Yeah, let's see. Let's just bring them all in.
A lot of them are based off of
Yeah.
recommendation.
Yep.
But we haven't played any of them. So the first one is another trick-taking game called Gummy Trick,
Yep.
which Naveen has something funny
This
to
is
say about.
also designed by Hisashi Hayashi, so we mentioned him earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I had already bought this game
Yeah.
2 years ago.
When you were there, I was like, wait, this looks so familiar. Are you sure we don't already have this? And Naveen was like, no, I've never seen that before. He bought the game
Sure enough,
before.
it's on our shelf. Monique had the foresight to take a picture of our Japan Hall games
Mm-hmm.
from before we left for this trip, so we didn't make this mistake. And tucked away in just like some tiny little corner,
Like a corner
with
of
just
a gummy
like
bear.
this much showing, is Gummy Trick. So I discovered that after making this purchase, and I was too embarrassed to try to get a refund.
No,
so
you don't do that.
you don't do
You
that.
don't get
do that.
refunds
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So
you just,
anyway,
like, you just take it.
Gummy Trick, we're glad to support them.
But the fortunate thing is this is going to be going to somebody's house.
Yes,
that's
that is true. Naveen had a bit of a last-minute buying decision when we were in Japan and
Future
bought
Inc.
Future Inc. We know nothing about this game.
I know very little about the game, but it is a 45-minute game, 2 to 4 players.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really, really nice. I like the art on it.
Very pretty.
Very pretty.
We stumbled upon a board game cafe / store.
Yeah,
and-
in what, Kobe, I think? Some city.
Some city,
I think it was Kobe, maybe.
maybe.
And so very hard to find. We went all the way there, went all the way up the stairs. We found that cafe, and I saw this game at the market, and I
think
was like,
Nakano.
oh, maybe Nakano,
Yeah.
I saw this game at the market and at the game market, and I was like, oh, do I get it? Do I not? Okay, we got up 25 games already. Forget it. But on this day, I had no games on me, so I was like, I'm gonna buy this thing.
Yeah, had a little bit of courage there.
The thing that really like ticks it for me is if you can find the English rules online, like actual, like not just a translated rule book, but an actual English rule book.
Yeah.
Then that really like sets it apart for us
Elevates.
because you know you can get to get it played, you know, without having to use Google
To
Translate.
guess.
Yeah,
That is true.
Yeah, so that's Future Inc. So hopefully we can get this played soon.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, we're making a lot of promises here. These 3 games were games that I believe were at previous game markets. This one was there this year. I actually don't know how to pronounce it. Ukiyo-e?
Ukiyo-e.
It has really beautiful card art, and while we were at the market, I kept seeing it, and we didn't get it. So I saw this after the fact because sometimes you will see games that are at the market the same week at board game stores.
Yep.
So I had
And they'll have like a section saying like new from the game market.
Yeah. So I had a last minute like I had a buyer's. It's not called buyer's remorse. I basically had a
regret
of not picking it up at the market. So I went ahead and picked it up. Small box, beautiful art.
Very, very nice art.
And both of these games
nice
were
art,
at a previous game market, I believe.
Okay.
Actually, Voodoo Prince is a
This is a
Reiner
Reiner
Knizia
Knizia
game.
game.
So I could be wrong about
Yeah,
that.
I think this is a trick-taking game.
Yeah.
Picked this one up at Yellow Submarine. 2 to 5 players, and don't know too much about it other than it's a pretty popular one. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Voodoo Prince.
Yep.
And this one was, I believe, at last year's game market. It's so silly looking. Look at all these faces.
Who are these
Haircuts.
Oh,
That's-
Haircuts? Oh, that's the name of the game.
Yeah, it's the name of the game. I don't know anything else about
No,
it.
nothing.
I think I heard just somebody mention, maybe Jay mentioned it in the video, and it was enough for me.
In a nice
pick it
bubble,
up.
English rules available, 2 exclamation points.
There you
I
go.
like my usage of exclamation points. So I respect that right there.
So now I totally understand what people mean when they say that they sometimes will watch our videos and it makes them want to buy a game, because I just heard Jay say this name.
Yeah, that's true.
And here I am. I bought it.
Yeah, it's just 3 to 5 players, so gonna have to figure out a game day.
figure that out.
We need a game day.
We also finally picked up a used copy at Surabaya of Tindahan. So this is a game that is themed after a Tindahan, which is a Filipino fruit market.
I think on BGG, if you search this game, it'll automatically populate as Filipino Fruit Market.
Oh.
I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Tindahan is what it's called. And this is a game actually that's designed by Pierre Sylvester, which I thought was super interesting because
King
he
is Dead.
designed, The King is Dead, as well as
Brian Boru.
Brian Burrow. Buru.
Boru. Yeah.
And this is just a card game. I think it's trick taking. I'm not quite sure.
I think like 09.
But
So
so
it's like
many
an early
people
design.
seem to have this game, and I've been very, very curious about it. And we just saw it at a used store.
We actually
So we
went to a
picked up a copy.
Tindahan when we were in the Philippines.
We did. A lot of fruits were not in season, but we were still.
We went too late in the trip, so like most fruit you got to buy it and let it sit for like 3 or 4 days. We went like the day before we were leaving for Japan, so you can't take fruit abroad. So
Yeah. If you
That's
ever
kind of a
go to the
bummer.
Philippines, especially during the summer, go to a tindahan and buy some fruits because they're absolutely magical.
Delicious.
So this game plays 3 to 5 players and it plays in 30 minutes. So definitely going to be playing this soon.
Yep.
And the last game, the last one, are you exhausted?
Me?
Because I know I am.
I am pretty tired right now.
The last
yeah.
game is a game that was just recommended to us by Amy. She said, "Do you like chess?" And I said, "I love chess." She said, "You should pick up tower chess."
Tower
then.
chess.
And so I found this, where Naveen found it actually, at a Yellow
It
Submarine.
was like in a corner, just like kind of like this, smashed amongst a couple games. Like
Yeah.
tower
It was the last copy.
Yeah.
So I had to have it.
Yeah, she had to have it. So this one is a 2-player only, like like chess would be.
Yeah.
And so I guess there's something about it, like you can cap somebody else's.
You can lock up somebody else's
You can lock up
piece
somebody else's
temporarily.
pieces, and while you're on it, they're locked. They can't actually use it, but once they unlock, then they can start moving. So there's like aerial blocking of like chess pieces, I guess. Like I don't
Yeah.
really know how
I
it
don't
works,
know.
but
Either way, we're gonna find out.
Yeah,
because
Monique
it's
is a
only
fan of
30
chess.
minutes. I love chess. I'm
Yeah.
not particularly good at it. Like there are people who are savants at chess, but
I've played somebody who's
love
like really good at chess, and it like soured chess for me.
oh really?
But like at the time, he
That's so sad.
was a little arrogant too about it. So I
Oh,
was just
okay.
kinda like,
Well, you should have just went back home and practiced, and I'll show him. You know.
no.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that is the last game that we picked up on our trip.
Yep.
All right, and there you have it. We talked about a lot of games. We're both pretty exhausted, so we're
Tired.
probably going to go rest.
yeah.
But if you have any questions about anything about the Tokyo Game Market, our experiences there, if you're planning on attending, we highly recommend you go.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you'll just be in Japan maybe around those times. If you understand, obviously it's a trek to go over there.
It is.
But it's a really fun experience, especially if you love trick-taking games and just games that are different from what what you can find here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I would recommend looking up kind of courtesies in Japan.
Yes,
So just
definitely.
and kind of like things that are socially acceptable and socially unacceptable in Japan before going, just so that you're not perceived as kind of like a rude tourist. You know?
Yeah. For anybody that we were able to meet at the convention, we surprisingly met a lot of people, which was different from the past because you never really know, who's going to be there and stuff. But it was a pleasure meeting with you all, and we hope you had a wonderful time. And like we were mentioning, if any of these games sound interesting to you, or if you've actually played any of them, please leave us a comment down below and let us know about them because that'll help us.
We have to prioritize. There's like
a ton of games
five
here.
to 7 of these that was like, okay, we're definitely gonna. But the other like 18, it's like, I don't know.
When are we going to play them,
Yeah,
right?
which one, yeah.
That's always the tough part about these things. Otherwise, we will be back soon. We are planning a slew of playthroughs in the next 2 months.
2 months, yeah.
So stay tuned for that. And until then, we will see you next time.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
Bye.